Happy hump day, you bozos. Welcome to the Bologna Show presented by the Chicago Sports Bums. I am Bologna. I'm gassed up to talk some nerd news, gassed up to talk some A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And I've got a little bit of news for you at the end of the show as well. So thank you to everyone that tuned in. Thank you to everyone that joined and is now listening on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I uploaded all of our previous episodes to a brand new stream. It is the Bologna Show. You could find us there, find me there on Spotify and Apple Music. So feel free to subscribe there. If you can't watch us live Wednesdays at 8 p.m., you could listen to us at your convenience. So I'm all excited about that. I know I saw a couple people, the subscriptions went up since last week. So I appreciate everyone there. So leave a review, thumbs up, all of that fun stuff. It goes a long way in supporting all of our Chicago Sports Bums nonsense. All right, let's get to some nerd news. I'm going to get to some comments because the comments and some super chats are hot and heavy. But before I do that, I'm going to bring on a guest, a guest, maybe a special guest, somebody you guys weren't expecting, because I planned on doing this show solo today. I had a little bit of nerd news, and then I was going to talk Game of Thrones. And I'm like, you know what? I'll make a slideshow, and I'll just feed off the comments and, bounce back and forth ideas. And then I found out mi hermano Joey P had just finished A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. He mentioned it on the Bumcast on Monday night. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Why not bring in my hermano to be able, or my tequila bum hermano, to be able to talk a little nerd news and a little Game of Thrones. And I'll be honest with you, Joey P, welcome to the Bologna Show, first and foremost.
Gracias, hermano. I thought we were here for tequila bums, no?
That's coming soon, too.
That's coming soon. I'm too hyped.
That's a tease for later. But,
all right.
We see each other a lot. We hang out a lot. We talk, obviously, on the Bumcast and everywhere else. I didn't know you were that, or at least into Game of Thrones. When you mentioned that you watched The Night of the Seven Kingdoms after I had talked about it, and I went back and I was like, oh, have you watched the original series? And you're like, yeah, me and Sandy watched the whole thing. I'm like, oh, perfect. I got someone to bounce some ideas off of. And I think Jason watched the whole thing too. He's a Thrones guy as well. But I'm like, let me get Joey P on the Bologna Show, because you haven't been on yet.
No, I haven't been on. And what Dougie and I did after the Jake Paul fight doesn't count, even though we stole your intro.
It helped the numbers, though, so I appreciate you and Dougie for that. That helped you, Jose, and Dougie just went rogue and did a live, reaction show. The Bologna Show intro was that, and it is part of it on the YouTube if you go back and look at it. So it helped the numbers. That's all that matters, baby. Teamwork.
That's what we do, baby. That's what we do. No, but thanks for having me on, hermano. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really watched a lot of TV. I said it the other night on the Bumcast. At least for the last decade, I haven't really watched a lot of series and stuff, but I saw all the hype, and you're talking about, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm like, one of the last big series that I was able to watch fully and enjoy was Game of Thrones. And before that, the Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, and all that stuff. Stuff's old already.
Yeah.
Like me. So I'm like, okay.
Like us.
You're young, you young whippersnapper, you.
Yeah.
But I was ready to hop back on to some kind of,
something.
Hop on a series of something. I'm like, okay, this looks short enough for me to get into, so it doesn't interrupt with life and stuff right now going on. So let's do it. And I enjoyed every minute of it. I can't wait to talk about it.
You hopped on at a perfect time, and I am going to try to power through a couple shows that I've missed or a couple things that I haven't been able to catch up on movie and TV wise, because right now is a perfect time for us as Chicago sports bums. No real Blackhawks games to, like we had that little bit of a break. Baseball just started, but it really doesn't start for another month or so. So like we got this like little pocket of like we don't have to be as sports heavy. I mean, we still are, right? We watch anything. We'll watch anything, but we got a little bit of like a month to play with where you could watch a couple movies, a couple TV shows or series, and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is perfect, right? Julie was the first one that you have to start watching this. You have to start watching it because she watched it from the beginning, and she's like, it's only 30 minutes. It's only like like 6 episodes long, so it's like it'll be quick. And yeah, so we're gonna talk about that for a little bit. But first, I gotta shout out our guys, Joey. We got Gordo in the comments, super chat 199. Cheers to the listeners, screw baloney. Yeah, I'll take that. Appreciate.
I'll drink to that.
And then I might have to refund him money because he's in the comments once again 199. Cheers to the listeners, screw baloney. I don't know if are we blaming fat fingers for that? Maybe Gordo. What I don't know, maybe it's a Google thing, but I got 2 super chats from Gordo, so I appreciate it.
No, he's rich on Hooters, so he did it on purpose.
And then we got a big one from our guy Yumper, 999. He says vamos cabrón, and I'll say back to Yumper, vamos cabrón, hell yeah,
vamos compa.
Gordo says, Yumper is one-upping me. Sticker sales must be good. A good point. Oh, no. See, and now we got another one. I love this, by the way. I love that we're fighting in the comments with super chats. It says, definitely screw Joey P. Ruined my Wednesday. I'm sorry, Gordo. I needed somebody to talk to. You don't want to hear me ramble for an hour. I was ready to do it. I was ready to ramble to myself, and I thought that would be a good exercise for me as like a host to just like be able to do it by myself. But it's always better to have somebody to bounce some ideas and joke around with and have a couple 2-3 super chats and salutes with. So I'm glad that Joey's here. Sorry, Gordo.
Love you too, Gordo.
Southside JT always in the comments. One of our favoriteest commenters, Sir Joey the Tall. You are Sir Joey the Tall.
Y'all baptized me with that name. I mean, that's what got me hooked.
Once we start talking Game of Thrones in a couple minutes, maybe 20 minutes or so, we do have I got a list of like the nicknames they gave each other, or like people give each other. I think we got to come up with some White Sox Twitter Game of Thrones type nicknames. Sir Joey the Tall is a good one.
That's a very good one. I appreciate you, Jeff. The Southside Jeff.
See, he is flaunting that sticker money. He says sticker game is tight, compas. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, make it rain, Yumper. Yumper's treating this comment section like a Friday night at Polecat from our guy, the Southside Bum.
$10 Tuesday nights.
$10 Tuesday.
Get more for your money.
All right, so like always, I am gonna start with some nerd news. We got a couple things I wanted to get to, and I got one thing at the end of nerd news that I'm gonna try out almost like a new segment. It's gonna be called like superhero hypotheticals. So tune into that. That's gonna be like a comment driven. Like I need the comments to get up and going for the superhero hypothetical. So that'll be fun. But first piece of nerd news out of the gate, and it's something that I'm not so much of a gamer nowadays. My last system that I had is the PS3. But I was a huge God of War guy. God of War episode 1, or the first one, God of War 1 and God of War 2. I played that thing until my thumbs hurt. I really liked that. And they announced that they're coming out with a God of War TV series on Amazon. So Amazon Prime is producing a God of War series, and the star of it is Ryan Hurst, who you might know, Joey, as Opie from Sons of Anarchy. Really cool actor, really like good, like brooding kind of emo type of actor. He was like that in Sons of Anarchy, and he is, I would imagine, very similar in God of War, because if you guys know Kratos, the main character, he's gone through some shit kind of just like Opie's gone through some shit. So you're gonna need like a big brooding character that's like pissed off a lot of the times, but can play the serious emotional parts. So I know you watch Sons of Anarchy, Joey.
Yeah, that's why when I see this face, I'm like, this face looks so familiar. I'm like, Opie, you made it after all. For those of no spoilers or anything. But
no, you could spoil Sons of Anarchy. That's been out for like 15 years at this point.
Yeah, that was one of the most, not to talk on Sons of Anarchy too much, but this is a nerd show, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm a casual fan. You're supposed to nerd me up, so that show was so great, especially some of the characters that are still rooted to this day. I think that, the spinoff they did with the Mayans is pretty cool and stuff, but the Sons of Anarchy was just an iconic show. And I think that series is like one of those main series from a decade ago that can still like thrive today.
Yeah.
Or you can watch it back over again from episode 1. Same thing with The Sopranos.
Yeah, I agree. The rewatchability, especially like the first 3 seasons or so of Sons of Anarchy, like that's when they really hit their their stride. Like season 2, season 3, up until like they went to Ireland, I think that, and then after they came back from Ireland, I feel like they lost me. I still liked it, and I still watched the rest of the series. Right. Julie really liked it, but yeah, Ryan Hurst as Kratos is a great casting call, and it's good to see him back because I haven't really seen him in a couple things. Like he's done bit movies and he was on a couple shows, but not like now he's the star of the God of War series.
Get out the way, Jax. Opie's on the way.
If you guys are familiar with the game, Atreus is his son. So they're going to need, we're going to talk A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in a second, and they're going to need one of those child actors that really can pull their weight when it comes to acting. So they cast Callum Vinson there. And then of this screen, the only other one that really stands out is Teresa Palmer. Teresa Palmer has been in a couple of things. Warm Bodies was a like zombie movie that I thought was kind of charming, endearing, and she was the lead in Warm Bodies. So okay. I think she could be good as Lady Sif, or Sif as they call it now. If you notice, these characters, a lot of the same Norse mythology as in Thor and like the Marvel movies, because that's all rooted in like the Norse, like Viking mythology and stuff. So a lot of the same names, including Thor himself, are on there. The last little bit of the casting news for that is Mandy Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin is a really good character actor. He was in Homeland. He was also in The Princess Bride, of all things. But Mandy Patinkin can act. He could act his ass off. So I thought him playing Odin is a great choice. And if you look at the pictures, I'm sorry for the people listening on the podcast feed, but the pictures, a lot of these guys are cast as like, visually, they look a lot like the video game characters.
Yeah, I think the casting director freaking hit a 10 out of 10. I mean, every one of those actors that were selected here, from what I can see here. Sorry for, everyone in podcast land. You got to watch this on YouTube. Right. But no, everybody did it. The casting director did a great job here. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I got out of video games right after the first couple Call of Duties, so I didn't really get into the God of War video game or anything like that. But I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's a really cool story. Even if you're not a video game person, it's a really good story. Just like the arc of Kratos. So I am excited. I have high hopes for it. Amazon has had a couple really good series. They've also had a couple duds. I really didn't care for the Lord of the Rings series that is on Amazon. They threw a ton of money at it. I think it was the most expensive TV show ever made. And it just didn't really get off the ground for me. I know a lot of people liked it, but hopefully this is a little bit better. Next piece of news, and it's something I saw today. I got tagged in it, and a couple other people were commenting on it on Twitter, but this is the nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Class of 2026 has been announced, and there's 17 nominees, the most of any year so far. I think last year was 14 nominees. They bumped it up to 17. I'll read them out for you guys. It's the Black Crowes, Jeff Buckley, Mariah Carey, Phil Collins, Melissa Etheridge, Lauryn Hill, Billy Idol, In Excess, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order, New Edition, Oasis, Pink, Sade, Shakira, Luther Vandross, and Wu-Tang Clan. Of the list that stands out here, 17 get in typically every year, Joey. It's right around like 5 to 8 inductees that actually get in. So of this list of 17, let's start with like 5, and then maybe we'll add a couple more. Who are the for sure 5 that we think have to get in?
And answer this question for me. Is this the first time that they've been nominated to enter?
Some yes, some no. I wish. That's a great question, Joey. There are some first-time nominees. So someone like Oasis, who I really like, and it's been very evident on the internet that I cried at Oasis.
You have Kleenex?
They've been nominated before, and they've been very vocal that they don't give a shit about this. So as much as I really like and I would want them to get in, they've been pretty vocal that they don't give a fuck, but that it makes it rock and roll, right, baby? Like, I think they still deserve it. So yeah, I can't tell you who are the first time nominees, but there are some that have already made it, or like already nominated.
Okay. I think obviously Mariah Carey on this list. She would have to be of that realm. You know, Wu-Tang is another great one down there in the comments. Let us know in the comments too, your thoughts, please.
Yeah.
So I got Wu-Tang, I got Mariah. I'm sorry. My mom got me hooked on Phil Collins from the early mid 80s.
I think that's a lock.
Yeah, I think Phil Collins is a lock. God bless him too, because you know he's been going through a hell of health struggles lately, right?
Yeah.
I see too many young names on here for me, but other than obviously Lauryn Hill was a mega star in the 90s and early 2000s. It's potential that she can make it. And if I have to go with an actual rock star band character, I'm going Iron Maiden. I think Iron Maiden, they have such a posse that rides with them, and they've had some great tracks throughout the years. I like Iron Maiden.
I think Iron Maiden could just make it off of their t-shirt sales and font. I mean, the Iron Maiden font should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't even care about the music, but they should just make it on what they've done for t-shirt sales. So I saw a lot of people in the Twitter comments talking about how, you know, this is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If they want like other people, they should just make it the Music Hall of Fame. And to that, it's like, it's been the Music Hall of Fame for like the last at least the last 10 years that I could remember. You know, it's everyone. It's rap, hip hop, it's pop music. So this, all intents and purposes, is already the Music Hall of Fame. It's just unfortunate that it started off as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I don't care that there's Mariah Carey on there. She sold so many goddamn records. She deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. If this is a Hall of Fame, she deserves to be there. The two people that I have an issue with, and it's two people that I cannot, there's undeniably great albums. Jeff Buckley and Lauryn Hill have two of the best albums of all time. Unfortunately for Jeff Buckley, he passed away. He only really has one banger of an album, and the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill should probably be in by itself. But when you have it's almost like, did they do enough long term to deserve the Hall of Fame recognition? And some people would say probably, right, between Lauryn Hill and like the Hallelujah cover of Jeff Buckley. But I'm keeping them out, because if I only have 5 to 7, I'm keeping them out just because they didn't really the longevity of the career. I think Phil Collins for sure has to be there. I think Joy Division and New Order, if they're combining them at one, it kind of makes it easier, but they have to be there as well. And I'm shocked they're not already in. I said Oasis, at least in my eyes, like for sure. And then from where here it gets really tricky. I do think Iron Maiden should be in there, so that's 4. And then Wu-Tang for sure. I mean, Wu-Tang is for the children, baby.
Yeah.
So that's my 5. If you want to add a couple more, because like I mentioned, it's like 7 to 8. Who else would you add from this list?
Well, you know, and you just brought up, you know, the point of longevity and what they did in the career. I mean, Luther Vandross, Luther. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he Danced with My Father, and I mean, he had anthems literally, and every single one of those albums I was, previous to listen to my mom's Columbia House 1 cent for 9 CD collection that would come in the mail every other month. I got to listen to a lot of Luther, so I think he definitely would be one. There's still some other names on here. Sandy's going to, of course, scream Pink, but as great as she is, her catalog is like extensive.
It's deep. Yeah.
It really is. She did a great job when we went to Soldier Field to see her a couple of years ago. Shakira's, she's there too, but
it's global.
I know. So it's very hard.
It's tough. It's a tough list. I know JT's in the comments saying Billy freaking Idol. I mean, yeah. It's more shocking that like some people like Billy Idol aren't already in, Yeah. I love In Excess. Johnny and my uncles will for sure say In Excess. Like I said, the longevity thing and like the unfortunate passing of Michael Hutchins, which is, I mean, that's how, I mean, passing away. If it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he went out like a rock star. But yeah, he like In Excess and Michael Hutchins, maybe they're like my first ones out, maybe honorable mention, but you never know. Hopefully they add 8, out of the 17. Why not add a couple more? Maybe do 7 or 8 of them. Yeah, I know lead singer died. It's unfortunate.
Doesn't matter.
Big fan. But yeah, I'm interested. And you know what? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony is like must watch for me and Julie. I watch it every year. Like there's some really good like homages. There's always a really good cover, and then there's always like just huge performances. So I'm excited to see whoever it is that they vote on.
Yeah, and then whoever doesn't make it this year, then we'll see if they're nominated again next and what next year brings. But we're going to focus on this year.
Yeah. 2 more pieces of quick nerd news. The first one is that Sony this week said that they're rebooting the entire live action Spider-Verse with new actors and new movies. No shit. The first go round for Sony's Spider-Verse was so bad. I have no faith in the next one, but like Sony's going to keep doing this forever, because if they don't, release a certain amount of movies within a certain amount of time, they lose the rights back to Marvel. So like, we're just going to always get some shitty movies from Sony. Hopefully some are better than the others. I like Tom Hardy as an actor. I didn't think any of the Venom movies were any that good, and they all went downhill from there. The Carnage one and like the Black, what was the Madam Web movie? They were all bad. Kraven the Hunter, I didn't even watch because I knew that was going to be ass. I probably will watch that soon. But yeah, Sony's just going to keep doing this because they have to, but I'm not looking forward to it, and I don't think anybody really is.
It's kind of like in the boxing world where you're a fighter that you're up and coming and you're catching on, and one of the big boxing promoters signs you to like a 4 or 5 fight deal, and you're just getting through some of the names just to finish up your fight deal because you want your next payday with a better promoter. It's kind of what Sony's doing here, right?
That's a good analogy. Or it's also like like the WBO, WBC, like you have these champions that haven't fought in like 2 years. So they say like, hey, you got a timeline, you got to fight or you're going to get stripped of your belt. Sony's got to make a movie or they're going to get stripped of their rights, basically.
Yeah.
That was a good analogy, Joey P. See, I'm glad I have you on here and not just rambling by myself.
It's all good, brother.
Last one is something we already knew. Like this was, I think, very obvious, but James Gunn again confirmed that Robert Pattinson will not be the DCU's Batman. They're going to recast him. Robert Pattinson will stay in his universe, and there will be a new Batman for the James Gunn DCU. Yeah, that should be exciting. I feel like, I mean, it's always a big deal when they cast the Batman. We've gotten a good amount of them now, but like some were better than the others. Obviously, like, Nolan and all of those movies were fantastic. The Batfleck Batman movies or whatever. I thought Robert Pattinson was fine, but we'll see. We'll see who they pick for the next one. Yumper saying as long as it isn't an origin story, we're probably gonna get that. Spoiler alert for anybody watching. Batman's parents die in an alley.
Well, my Batman always will be Michael Keaton.
Oh, okay. You're a Keaton Batman.
Of course. I'm an 80s baby.
Adam West?
Adam West? No, that's before my time. Who you crapping?
Yo,
R.I.P.
saying yes, Joey.
R.I.P. Terry Boyce. Who you crapping?
All right, so I talked about like our superhero hypothetical. If you guys are in the comments, let me know your thoughts. I found this Twitter page, and I also found like a TikTok page that does a bunch of these like hypotheticals. So I'm gonna pick and choose a couple, maybe one or two a week for the Bologna Show. But for this first initiation, we only have one. But it's a good question to have. So I'm gonna read the tweet, and I'll explain the picture for the people listening on the podcast. But let me get this back up here. Where do we go? There we go. Oh no, I lost Joey. What the hell? I lost Joey again.
Oh.
Here we go.
Let's go.
So no powers held back, no escape. Who leaves the elevator alive? And this is a, like a good sized industrial sized elevator. It's Wolverine, Batman, the Predator, Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Blade, and Jason Voorhees. So if it's a fight to the death, only one man Royal Rumble survives. Who do you guys think leaves the elevator alive? I'm interesting to see. See, Yumper's already in the comments. Predator due to tech. So what I will say is, looking at the picture and looking at the characters who I just described, Batman is cooked. Batman is cooked so fast, man. And I know he's the world's greatest detective, and he's got the fighting skills, and like Batman is good when he's on top of buildings, when he has a large area to work with. He could strategize, he could outsmart, he could like will his way to victory. In tight quarters like this, I think Batman and Raphael are cooked right away. Those are the two guys I think are the first two gone. Joey, any objections with that?
The only thing I have to think about, brother, does Batman have Alfred in his ear?
I don't think Alfred or anybody's gonna help at that point,
because Alfred might be watching back in the Batcave, the camera inside the elevator, and he might have like a loose panel somewhere so he can escape and then be from up top and blah 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 blah. What's up? No.
The caveat right there, right on the tweet, says no escape. He cannot leave.
Escape. Okay.
So
no.
In my head, I think
no objection.
I think Batman and Raphael is the first two done. I think Predator, even though with the tech and the hunting and everything, Predator's a badass. Mm-hmm. But again, I think Predator is way more effective in long range, hunting type of scenarios, very similar to Batman. I think the healing power of Jason and Wolverine are like the things that stand out. And Blade, what people don't remember, Blade, while JT's in the comments saying Blade is human vampire hybrid, so he's already half dead. Good point. Blade does have healing powers, but I just don't think they're as accelerated as Wolverine and Jason. So I think the last two standing are Jason Voorhees and Logan. And in my head, Jason is just too slow and lumbering. I think Wolverine, because of the healing factor, because of the adamantium and everything else, I think Wolverine is the last man standing. I think Jason is the second, but he's just too slow for Wolverine.
Yeah, I definitely think you hit the nail right on the head on those two. And I think maybe that's why they're prominent in the photo where they stand in the elevator.
Yeah.
Because I think they both can just turn to their side and knock out like domino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, all right, mano a mano, let's bring it. And then they have just a one-on-one. But yeah, you're right. Also, Jason, at first I was excited when I saw this. I'm like, oh, Jason going to get them all because one of my favorite horror movie guys of all time. Well, actually, one of Michael Myers is still my 1-1. Yeah, Logan got this. Logan got this. You proved your point. Why?
Yumper says, what if Predator shoots a net at Wolverine and Jason? They have blades that just cuts through the net. I don't think the net's going to matter one bit. And also, like, I mean, if this is movies compared to comics, I guess it's different. In the comics, like, Wolverine had the adamantium literally ripped off of his body by Magneto to the point where he was just like a pulp of flesh. And he survived that. It's like the healing factor is way too strong. So I guess for this round of the superhero hypothetical, Wolverine wins. Are we agreeing with that, Joey?
Yeah, we are gonna agree with Mr. X-Man himself.
And that is acid. Remember, even if it's acid, I don't know. I appreciate Yumper stumping hard for Predator. He's a huge Predator fan, and the Predator movies are great. But I'm going with Logan. I'm going to stick with Logan for that. All right. Now it's ding, ding, ding time for the main event. Before we start talking a little bit of Game of Thrones and Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I'm going to play a quick ad just to get our slides ready. So be back on the other side. ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com is the home for all Chicago Sports Bums merch. We have Bears, Hawks, socks, and Bums merch available. Anything you need to get ready for a big game or a Chicago Sports Bums event. Remember, all profits go directly back into our Whiskey at Comiskey tailgates to keep the beer and food free for everyone. So head over to ShySportsBums.BigCartel.com and pick up a couple Toot Tree shirts today. All right, so we are back with Game of Thrones, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Like I mentioned, I didn't start watching this until episode 4, I want to say. But Julie, every week's like, just give it a shot. And the main thing she said is like, it's a lot more like lighthearted. It's not as serious. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then like the first scene of the show is basically a funeral. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is not like, I mean, it's just as serious as all Game of Thrones, you know, like we got Sir Duncan the Tall, you know, basically grieving the death of his I don't want to say protege. What am I? Give me an English word, Joey.
Well, I was going to say his knight in shining armor. But...
yeah, basically. But yeah, his lord, if you will.
His lord, exactly. His lord.
His lord.
He's the squire.
Sir Arlen of Pennytree. But like people mentioned, and it's like, oh, it's not that serious. You know, they do the mourning and the funeral scene, and you hit the first theme of Game of Thrones, and then it's immediately interrupted by my dude taking the wateriest of shits ever. And I'm like, okay, this is for real, not like most Game of Thrones stuff. This scene was like literally like within the first 5 minutes of the show, and I'm like, holy shit. Like it even took George R.R. Martin by surprise, because he said, I don't know if that was necessary, but it definitely like caught me off guard. Joey, first thoughts about the first 5 minutes of the show.
Well, exactly. This right here was totally unexpected. I'm like, damn, did he drink the water in Mexico? What happened?
Exactly. You know what? I'm actually gonna break. I don't know what the YouTube rules about showing ass and poop, so I'm gonna take it off screen for a second. But I still want to talk about the comedy of the show, because you get it a lot. You get it a lot, like in between, like you know, like there's like comedic breaks. In the first episode, it's obviously the poop show. The second episode, it's something like JT says. Literally, again, within the first 5 minutes, Sir Arlen of Pennytree just shows hog, and I'm talking like python. I'm talking like a literal fire hose of a hog. And I was like, holy hell! And first of all, I told Julie, I'm like, why are you watching this perverted shit? Nobody needs to be seeing that. And I was joking and stuff like that. but like they keep it lighthearted, right? They keep you
Yeah.
talking, whether it's the poop scene or like the hog scene. It's something that like you don't expect, and then it comes out of nowhere, and I mean you laugh, and then you're on with the show.
Yeah, it's almost like what it's almost Game of Thrones from 10 years ago, but they kind of updated it in a way to capture, more of a broader audience, to just get a reaction out of anyone watching this, right? I kind of get it that way. It's a little bit of an update because Game of Thrones obviously was like all Dungeons and Dragons and, everything up there that you would see from medieval times. This has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and so obviously, so episode 1, I mean, you see Sir Duncan the Tall grieving Arlen of Pennytree, and then we get cut to a scene where he sees like a young boy, and he's tending to his horses, and he meets him. It's Egg. Later on in the series, we find out that Egg is technically Aegon Targaryen of those famous Targaryens. And that's something I really liked about this show. We knew we were going to get some backstory. We were going to know, some of the names, but you hear all of the classic names that we, grew in love with the original Game of Thrones series, right? The Targaryens are there. The Baratheons are there. Like it's something that's like, oh, like that name reminds me of this guy, or this guy's obviously related to this guy way down the line. But what I like about the show and what like immediately stood out is both of these guys are so likable. It's the Duncan Egg show, and both the little kid and Dunk are so likable that like you're just rooting for them. And there were people I rooted for in the original Game of Thrones, right? Like it's hard not to root for the Starks throughout the whole series, but like these guys capture you right away. It's almost like a buddy cop movie, or it's like like little brother, big brother. It's really endearing in that way.
Yeah, because there's obviously a lot of the origin story of them and how they met and how they proceeded. I want to be your squire, and Dunk playing hard to get in the beginning, and you're just a kid. Who are you? So it's great. It was great storytelling in that aspect because you're kind of rooting for the kid, right? The kid's just trying to make a buck. He's trying to make a penny.
He's hustling, baby.
He's hustling, and then eventually Dunk gives in after he sees this kid is pretty smart, and he can actually help me even though I didn't want no help. I'm probably better off with getting some help. Why do I need to be by myself? And Dunk just goes through, and I'm sure we're about to go through here in a minute. Just so much, flashbacks of how he came through up the ranks, and he kind of could relate, with trying to learn from his lord, from his mentor and whatnot, because he wants to be a knight, right? So that's why I think that this is a heartwarming, for me, it was a heartwarming story, watching these two pair up together and watch their story as it goes. And I think also something else, Peter, I don't know if we mentioned, I had to Google it because I got very interested when the show was over, when I finished watching it on Sunday night. I had to Google to find out, when did this story actually take place in the universe of Game of Thrones?
So it is roughly around like 100 to 80. I think it's like 80 years before the series kicks off of Game of Thrones, because like someone like Egg, who, no spoilers on what happens, but he is at the end of it, like the oldest Lannister, the Lannister dad in the main series. He technically, was alive when he was alive. So
okay.
So there's some crossover there.
All right.
I tried to do that without giving anything away, because I don't want to like spoil things or like ruin things for people, but there is a little bit of crossover. So it is, I believe, right around 80 years before the series. So I should mention, so Sir Duncan the Tall is on his way to try to sign up for like a night tournament. All of like all of the the different, kingdoms, or all of the different houses, the famous houses, have their nights, and this is like a tournament that they're hosting for basically like a 13-year-old girl's birthday. I was like, imagine having like a quinceañera, and it's like, hey, let's just do a Royal Rumble nights to the death for quinceañera, Joey.
It's almost like the nights are a bunch of piñatas at the quinceañera.
That's basically what it is. So he's on his way to try to sign up for this tournament. He doesn't really have, and that's like an overarching story, is like, is he really a knight? Like where are your papers, basically? Who are you, like, who are you serving? And then we get we meet the rest of the gang as they're showing up for this party. So it's all of the Targaryens and all of the Baratheons, the Fossaways and everyone else like that. I got a little slide to show the Maekar Targaryen family tree. So Maekar is one of the brothers. The first brother is Baelor, Breakspear Targaryen. That's one of the first nicknames, and he is the prince in line to be king. What stands out about him is he's actually like kind of a good Targaryen. There's not many of those in the history of the Seven Realms, but like, he, by all viewpoints, and like, he was like a good guy. He kind of stood up for Dunk and kind of vouched for him, and he's like, yeah, let him be in this tournament. He was a good guy, and then he shows how good of a guy he is later on in the series. And then he's got his other brother, Maekar Targaryen, who is basically just like the worst dad in the world.
Yeah, I when I was first introduced to these characters on screen, there was a particular scene where they just showed up in town, right? Not to go into too much depth, but you can kind of tell, like, oh yeah, these dudes are definitely Targaryens, right? They're all, mightier than thou, egotistical dudes, and the family seemed to get along pretty good with each other than the story that Maekar was pretty much having with his son. But I saw that this particular family here, they fit the mold of what you're used to with the Game of Thrones template.
Yeah,
every family, there's great, like in real life, right? We have great family members. We have some not so great. We got some just in the middle that are in existence. Yeah. And then I think that some of the parallels between the original series and this, they followed the template, and that's why for those of us who like the original series, we already know where this story kind of was going.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, there is a little bit of a family dynamic in all of this. So Maekar has two daughters that we have not seen, we haven't met yet. But of the four sons, we know one, Aemon Targaryen, as the Maester, or like he was in Game of Thrones, basically in Castle Black. So we know that guy already, but we only know him as like a very, very old guy. We haven't seen him in this series yet. Of the three that we meet, one is obviously Egg, because we don't know that yet, but he is a Targaryen, and he's brothers with one is a drunk and one is just a bad guy. So of the four brothers, we got like a science nerd, a good guy, a bad guy, and a drunk. That's almost like you mentioned. Almost all families have one of those.
Exactly. You're just fitting the circle in the circle, the triangle in the triangle, just fitting every peg in every hole.
From there, we also meet what I think a lot of people, it was like, besides Duncan Egg, maybe everyone's favorite character of the series. And this is Sir Lionel Baratheon. His nickname is the Laughing Storm. And again, it's just another awesome nickname. But when we first see him, Dunk is trying to gain favor with all of the houses, and kind of he needs somebody to vouch for him. And he gets invited by one of the Fossaways to this, like big lavish dinner with dancing and stuff like that. But he sticks out like a sore thumb. One, because he's gigantic and tall, and two, because he knows nobody. So immediately, Sir Lionel calls him over, like, what are you doing here? And at first you think like, oh, shit's going down, right? He's going to get in trouble. But this dude just turns out to be a bro. He wants to hang out. He wants to drink and ask questions and dance. And he's just like a bro being a bro. He was a bro throughout this series. I love this guy.
Yeah, this guy definitely checks off on all the boxes for like someone to root for in the series.
Yeah,
he is a lovable character. I mean, he's jovial. And then he's a badass at the same time, because you know, obviously there's some parts where he's going to be fighting, and he can throw down, he can dance, he can drink. He's a 5-tool player in the baseball world, we call that.
I like that. But yeah, he also has just like the cleanest fits of everybody. I think the Targaryens and their armor is awesome because it's all black and they all have different armor and it all looks fancy as hell. But this guy, just like he's one of these guys. He's very much of the Deion Sanders playbook of look good, feel good, play good, because like all of his fits and the antlers and even the tent that he has, badass.
Yeah, this guy's awesome. Can't wait to keep rooting him on.
The other two guys that we meet early on in the series is, like I mentioned, the two Fossaways, Raymond and Stefan Fossaway. Stefan Fossaway is already a knight. Raymond is his squire and is his cousin. Again, one good guy, one bad guy. For a second there, Stefan looks like he's going to turn good. And I'm like, oh, maybe this guy is all right. And immediately, like, it didn't last 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, knife in the back of Sir Dunk. And I like, son of a bitch. I knew he was a shitbag all along. But for a moment, I'm like, oh man, this guy's all right. Nope.
No. And that's what I was saying a moment ago about how this show is following the old school template. You know, an episode here or there, you're going to get those cliffhangers at the end of an episode, or right even in this case, in the middle of an episode, some backstabbing. And, you know, that just makes the storyline intriguing and it keeps you tuned in. I was in. That's why I had to binge watch this whole freaking show, episode 1 through 8 or 9, whatever it was, through Sunday night, because of stuff like what he did.
So, a couple of like the female leads in the show. One of them is, we only get her first name, but it's Tanzel. She is part of like the town. She does puppet shows with her family. She also does a little bit of artwork, and Sir Duncan the Tall commissions her to paint him like a new sigil and a new crest onto his shield. And they have a little bit of back and forth, you see some sparks fly, as you do in a like rom-com type scenario. But immediately, so Arya Bright Flame Targaryen, the blonde-haired bitch, basically, like has issues with this, breaks her fingers, and Sir Duncan immediately, without question, goes to defend her. Like, who cares what happens? I'm doing what's right. This was wrong. I'm gonna go defend her. And he fights Aryan, and that's when I'm like, this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad for Sir Dunk. You got the knights there. You got him on the ground. And that's when basically Egg says, leave him alone, or you're gonna have to deal with my father. And he says, my father is Maekar Targaryen. And everyone's like, yeah. So obviously he's been shaving his head to keep the blonde hair from being visible and all of that. So that was a really good cliffhanger to episode 3, The Squire. That's when we really find out. And so this is where the show, because it's only 6 episodes long. The first 3 episodes were kind of like, like, we're getting from this place to this place. He has to do this thing. He has to sign up. He has to gain favor. All of these are like very formulaic. And then end of episode 3, this is where it goes from, good buddy cop to still like buddy cop type of thing, but with a Game of Thrones flair, because it's like things are going to get really serious. And it gets serious episode 4 with the 7. Everyone thinks he's going to get tried. He's going to get put to jail. I'm talking about Dunk here. And out of nowhere, because I said he's a blonde-haired bitch, Aryan invokes the trial by 7. where even his dad's like, what is that? That's like 100-year-old rule that no one ever has heard of. He's like, well, technically, Arion is in his rights to do whatever he wants. And instead of going mano a mano with Sir Duncan the Tall, which who would want to go? This would be like a Kane X-Pac kind of scenario. You don't want to do that. He says it's a trial by 7. You have to get 6 other people to stand by your side. And that's where like things really get Game of Thronesy, and you try to figure out who's going to help him, who's going to backstab him. And that this is where I feel like the series really took off.
The series took off, and I was trying to do some research. When was the last time someone participated in a judgment by 7? I think it was Jerry Reinsdorf. Happy birthday, Jerry! Today's his birthday. I think he's
90th birthday. He's just as fucking old as Grand Maester Pycelle at this point.
Yeah, but hey, he made it. He was part of the winning side of the judgment of 7. But yeah, no, this is exactly you quoted this one correctly. This scene really like picked up the action. It really did. And like for this season, and you could see where it was going to kind of end. This was the episode that everybody had been waiting for. If you're a OG Game of Thrones fan like we are, where you wanted to see some action, this was definitely the one where you got to see it all. And then it goes on a trajectory once the action starts.
And it was really interesting because so he rounds up, a misfit gang of knights basically, and he's still one more knight away from, being able to compete. And he's given this like really like rip roaring speech, like really heartfelt. Like, is there no more honor in the 7 kingdoms? Is there no more good men? And like all of this is like really serious. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. And then a Knight of the 7 Kingdoms being what it is, and I talked about the humor, one guy stands up, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy's gonna help him, and just rips the biggest, wettest fart possible. And I was like, holy shit, is that the most disrespectful fart I've ever seen on camera? And I think maybe yes.
I thought that was HBIC in my next room over. But that's definitely a Jason move in the movie. I love it.
It was so unexpected, right? Because it was such a passionate speech, and it's such a serious moment in the show. And this guy, who we don't know who it is, just stands up, and we're like, oh, here we go. And he just lets that fart rip. And I'm like, God damn it, they got us again. But as it turns out, Baelor Targaryen, the next in line, the prince next in line to be king, stands up for Sir Duncan and now is going against his family of Targaryens. He's going against his nephews. He's going against his brother. And that's how episode 4 ends. And we're like, here we go. And that's the first time we hear the actual Game of Thrones song at the end of this episode. And I'm like, that was just like an adrenaline injection to the veins.
That's when business is about to pick up.
Exactly. So from there, episode 5, and which is like by all accounts the best episode of the series. It was holding steady at like a 10.0 on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't know if you know this, Joey. It was rated so high that Breaking Bad fans got pissed that Ozymandias, the finale of, or the second to last episode of Game of Thrones, which by all accounts was like one of the best episodes of television history, got bumped from its spot. So then nerds from Game of Thrones and nerds from Breaking Bad started like basically spamming each other, basically like the 108 tournament with bots and stuff, so that both episodes now tanked in the ratings. And I'm like,
good.
No, not good. These motherfuckers just can't have any fun. Just like both episodes are great. You don't have to get competitive about which one is on top. But episode 5, In the Name of the Mother, it's basically their big action, trial by 7 set. And I talked to you a little bit beforehand in the pre-show.
Yeah.
This is where we saw like it was like gritty and actiony, but also I got to give him credit by name. So Egg, Dexter Soul Ansel is his real name. He might be the best kid actor of all time because I've been replaying that get up, sir. Get up, Sir Duncan. And then when he does get up and he just gives out that wait, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I think I watched this episode, I think 3 or 4 times already. It's so good, man. This is classic Game of Thrones.
Yeah. We talked about this before. This young man, like I told you pre-show, in the beginning, when he first made his first appearance, I'm like, it's just some kid. Okay, just some kid actor. And then he kept going on and on and on and appearing in more scenes. And I'm like, okay, well, he's not a kid, actually. He's a smart kid. And you know what? And then he grew on me. And I think he's done that for a lot of the audience. So especially this scene here that you just described throughout that whole battle. And then when he screamed, he had us all like, oh, this kid might be our, who is who is it? Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Who are we thinking?
I'm thinking from the OG show. Our Peter
Peter Dinklage.
Dinklage. Yes.
Yeah.
This is our Peter Dinklage of the show right here.
Yeah.
Because he had so many fans, including myself in the OG show. This is our Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's got the chops, man. And I'll give credit to Peter Claffey too, who is Sir Duncan the Tall. He was a rugby player. He had been in like a couple of theater roles, and I think he was in a couple other like acting roles, but this was his big break. And he talked about like him being like really nervous, and we saw it in The Name of the Mother. Like he threw up like on the horse right before battle, and he was nervous. They wrote that in after one of his auditions where he threw up in his audition, and the showrunner was basically like, no, this is good. This is like what we want in this character. So it was basically like his real character coming to life on the big screen, or like the TV screen.
Yeah, it's one of those things where an actor really belongs in a role, and you can watch them grow into a role without even have to practice, to play the part, because it kind of fits him. He's just being himself kind of in that role. That's how I took it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, this episode was awesome. I'll put it toe to toe with all of the big episodes of Game of Thrones, whether it's the Red Wedding or Hard Home or any of the big duels. It was right up there with it. I mean, and the fight scenes, I got to give them credit as well. They have 25% of the budget that normal Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon has, right? So that's why they talked about like, we shot it in a lot of fog, in a lot of dark, because we couldn't get away with like a big set. So the fact that these episodes are so good and so visually, like, they keep you enthralled, even though the budget is a fraction of what typical HBO Game of Thrones is. That's a give credit to the showrunner and the show in general, because like it just shows you what a good story and good acting can carry you a long way. You don't need all of the CGI. You don't need all of the big sets and the big production. When you got good actors and a good story and good filmmaking, that goes a long way. They talked about like this would have been like Sir Duncan the Tall's real first fight as a knight. So that's why they filmed it kind of like disorienting. And you as a viewer, you're kind of like, what's going on? You're kind of dizzy. You're kind of like, it's hard to see at times. And it's like, this is what it would have been like if he was like in a real fight. And that's how they filmed it. It was very much like a Rocky 1 type of thing.
Yeah, the entire fight scene, like you said, you were obviously behind the face shield, right? And behind the armor, and you felt for him. You really did, because up until that point, you really didn't see if he could really fight. You saw the scene when he stuck up for old girl that he was trying to holler at, his artist girl. But up until that point, you're like, man, this dude, he's gonna beat up everybody. And then you saw, no, you know what, a little bit of vulnerability, because like you said, this is the first time we got to see him and the armor and everything. So although he may have been prepped, by his lord when he was squiring and whatnot, and he was knighted, this was his first true test. And I think that, like you said, with nerves, me as a viewer watching how everything went, I was going through the emotions.
Yeah.
He got knocked down. He got smashed in everything.
Yeah,
I was like,
he
it
got
took
everything.
the air out of him. He got everything. It took
got
the air out of me. And I was like, no, dude, come on, get up. Get up.
And he got like he got maced in the head a couple times. He got stabbed through the hand. He got stabbed all over the place. And to the point where it's like, yeah, you didn't know if he was going to get up, but obviously, like he's got that dog in him. And he comes back and wins. And so that's how episode 5 ends. And then we're basically done with the series. Episode 6 tomorrow is basically like a recap of like the funeral for, I should mention, it ends with Baelor Targaryen passing away, which it was not expected. He's talking to Sir Dunk and he's like, oh, my hands feel like wood. And I'm like, oh no. And then they take the helmet off of him and like the back of his head is just a pulp. And we're like, oh shit. So episode 6, The Morrow, deals with like the grief that Sir Duncan has of like, why him and not me? And like, why am I here? And it's really good and like really introspective. And it just like leads to the end where you're looking forward to the future of the show, right? Like it didn't leave you on a big cliffhanger other than the fact that Egg lied and said that he was allowed to go squire for Sir Duncan. And it turns out he lied to his dad and now his dad's pissed off again. But yeah, it was a really like good, kind of tie into a quick 6 episodes, but really emotional at parts, really exciting at parts. And a lot of people made fun, or not made fun, but did the parallels to the Fast and the Furious in that final scene where like it shows Sir Arlen of Pennytree kind of going off to one side of the fork in the road. And then now it's the tale of Sir Duncan and Egg. Joey, you shared with me a video that somebody and I gotta give credit to a bunch of people online, like just a bunch of big brain people that connect the dots so good and so fast. The storytelling throughout this series, they spliced together like a minute long, like just like compilation of like, Sir Arlen and Dunk, and then Dunk and Egg, and it's almost like mirror images of different things where it's like you're getting now you got one story and now you're getting the next story, but it's like like mirror images of each other. I thought that was really good. It's really great storytelling, and it's something like you don't really pick up on, at least I don't, until like I see it, like somebody actually like beats me over the head with like, look, this is what they're doing, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, what it was, Peter, it was for everybody listening. Basically, it was a video showing history repeat itself.
Yeah,
over and over again, from yesteryear of Little Dunk to modern day Dunk, where he went through several passages, and it was a great way to really show the storytelling by everyone who helped
its growth
and its growth and where it's going. For me, this was the tearjerker. I remember binge watching with Sandy all afternoon on Sunday, and we're just waiting patiently I'm like, well, shoot, I only got about an hour before the last episode. I might as well stay up Sunday night and wait for it live, like we used to Game of Thrones. She had to go to bed. I stayed up for it. And I sent out the tweet. I was like, you know what? I'm binge watching this today. I love it. But I know if I go to bed tonight, I'm probably going to go to bed crying, knowing how Game of Thrones ends a season. And you know what? They were happy tears. That scene right there just proved it. What I really like also about this series is, which I personally liked about the Game of Thrones series in general, they do great writing. The dialogue of this show is awesome.
Yeah,
I really love the dialogue.
No, they did a good job. I mean, it's everything, right? It's like we mentioned before. The dialogue, the acting, the sets, the the direction of the show, and it like George R.R. Martin has like 3 of these. They're based off of novellas. It's not even a full book, but like The Hedge Knight is the first of the novellas. He's got 3 of them done already, and he said he planned on 12 of them, but like in classic George R.R. Martin fashion, he just doesn't finish anything he fucking starts. But at least he gave the showrunner the bullet points of what happens throughout these stories, so they know what's going to happen. They don't have to do what Game of Thrones did and kind of like on the fly make shit up or like change things to fit the narrative. So I love it. I'm really excited about it. They're already filming season 2. The showrunner said that it's going to be 6 episodes again. They don't plan on changing the format. They said some episodes will be a little longer, close to an hour, but at max like an hour. But most of them are going to be right around that 30 to 35 minute range. And I'm like, yeah, just don't mess with anything. Don't really change anything. He says if they can get away with it, it's just always going to be like a yearly thing. So we're like, you don't have to wait, sometimes 2.5 years between seasons and stuff like that. So I feel like they're learning from their mistakes as a whole, HBO and with the final couple seasons of Game of Thrones and the first 2 seasons of House of the Dragons, which I didn't really mention. One, because Julie's been watching them. I haven't had the inclination to watch. I am going to watch them. Them, but I haven't started. But by all accounts, everyone's saying that it doesn't hold a candle to what A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is. And we know what their story is going. So like they're gonna be going places, and they're both gonna be growing up, right? Like Egg isn't gonna be a child forever. I'm interested to see how the relationship is when they're when he's a teenager, and then when he's a young adult, and even farther along in the story. No spoilers, but we know how it goes. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's almost like we're all fans of Stranger Things, of course. Watching season after season, the kids grow up eventually, right? And that's pretty much what we'll have to look forward to in this series. I still, to this day, am excited that I finally got a series that I can finally, after a decade, cling on to. So thank you, Peter.
Hell yeah. Now we're talking, baby. You know what? We'll wrap up the Game of Thrones and nerd talk with a question from Mailman Jack. He says, why didn't they have a season 2 of She-Hulk? I really liked it, damn it. Julie and I really like She-Hulk too. I think a lot of the problems with it was the spending on it. I think it was very expensive to make. And it fell flat with a lot of people. I thought it was good for what it was. I like the actress Tatiana Maslany, but yeah, I don't think they're having a season 2, and I think she's mentioned that she's not interested in having a season 2. So I think that's that. Joey, that is our nerd talk for today. We nailed it. I'm happy you came on, man. I was gonna be talking for an hour straight by myself. It's rather to have an amigo with me.
I got an hermano right here, brother.
I should mention, like, I saw this comment. I tried to fact check it and I can't find it anywhere. So hopefully this is not true. He says, R.I.P. Diamond Dallas Page passed away this evening in a car accident. I Googled it and I went on Twitter and I don't see anything yet. So I don't want to, I don't want to fake news it. I don't want to say anything, but we are wrestling fans and I like Diamond Dallas Page. So hopefully nothing happens. If unfortunately that is true, I think we're going to have a good, a proper Diamond Dallas Page kind of send off maybe next week. But hopefully, like I mentioned, I'm crossing my fingers, knock on wood. Hopefully this is a fake news thing. Joey, thank you so much. I got a little bit of housekeeping to get to. I'll talk to you on the other side.
All right, brother. Thanks all for watching.
Nos vemos. All right. So like I mentioned, next week, we reschedule it. This was supposed to happen today. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of scheduling conflicts. Bobby DeMars had some family things to do, but Bobby DeMars of Blind Barrels will be joining me on the Bologna Show. It's going to be a little Bologna Show / Bourbon Bums crossover, because if you guys are on this YouTube page watching, you know, we do Whiskey reviews along with all of our sports and nerd content. Blind Barrels is a company that has a subscription service where maybe for, Father's Day or a birthday, you have a whiskey fan or family member. They'll send a box of 4 samples of whiskey with a QR code in the back. This whiskey comes from all over the United States. Some of it, not really like the big name whiskey brands, but somebody that needs a little bit of spotlight. And then you try a flight or you try the barrels blind. After you try them, you scan the QR code and then you find out what you're drinking and how you can get it and things like that. I think it's a really cool product. It's a really cool idea if you're a whiskey fan. So I will be trying 4 whiskey flight basically live, and then we're going to try to guess what we're drinking, and Bobby DeMars is going to kind of guide us through all of that. HBIC will be joining me for that, so it's going to be a Bourbon Bums crossover event. HBIC is here in the comments. I appreciate you hopping on. Maybe go back and restart the show because we just did an hour on Game of Thrones stuff. But everyone that stuck around for the hour, I'm talking Southside JT, Mailman Jack, Yumper, Gordo, everyone in the comments. I'm sorry if I missed you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for the super chats. We did a good amount of super chats to start the show. I appreciate that as well. So we'll see you next week for an all new episode of the Bologna Show. We'll smell you later.
Goodbye for tonight.